and some of the most successful conferences going. And I said, you know, why do you not bring the conference to Belfast? Golf, the Open next year, world-class courses that people come across. We then look at the technology side of things, and and Rory Smith founding BRS through to many other things that have come out of Belfast, Northern Ireland over the years. I think the technology side of things, it's very, very exciting that you see some of the world's top people. They're now coming to Belfast to explore both Belfast hospitality and the wider opportunities.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Future of Golf podcast. This one is a little bit of a different one because this week we are in partnership with the GBT conference, which is coming to Belfast, my home country and my home city for a few years. And I know our guest, Gareth Macklin from Obbi Golf, is also very familiar with that city, and I believe he is sitting in that location today. And this podcast is actually a very exciting kickoff of a host of guests that we're going to be having on who are going to be speaking at the GBT conference in Belfast in 2025. So today we have Gareth Macklin, who is the Chief Operating Officer at Obbi Golf, which is revolutionizing the health and safety and compliance space and is already partnered with hundreds of clubs around the world. So Gareth, pleasure to have you on. It's great to have a Northern Irish person again as our first guest on this series. How are you today? Great to have you.
Absolutely great, and thanks for having on it. I'm just smiling there, Graham, when you say when you've got two Northern Irish guys on your international podcasts, at least 90% of the people who are going to be listening to this are going to be needing either to slow it way down or ask for subtitles.
Exactly. Yeah, perhaps our podcasting software, maybe we can get subtitles in that as well. And apologies for all the international ones, we haven't a clue what we're saying. But Gareth, it's obviously a very exciting time now. We were speaking before the podcast of we're well traveled to go to conferences in America. I've traveled to Asia recently to experience golf on the other side of the world, but to have an event, in Belfast in our backyard is so exciting. Maybe talk about a little bit about what this means to you and what you think it means for Northern Ireland as well.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely phenomenal. For those that do know me before I come into the technology, my entire background is hospitality. Our family, we own and operate hotels in Belfast for almost 35 years. And I smiled slightly as I when I met Abu several years ago on the now international golfing community, and he talked about this conference. I sort of half jokingly talked about, well, look, there's all these massive international conferences all around the world that we're going to. As I said, I'm just back in the States there 4 weeks ago. I'm back to the States now again in 3 weeks' time again. And, some of the most successful conferences going. And I said, you know, why do you not bring the conference to Belfast? We only have to talk about golf, the Open next year, world-class courses that people come
Yeah.
across. We then look at the technology side of things, and Belfast took Northern Ireland itself on the international circuit on so many things of technology, from whether it be golf, from Brian and Rory Smith founding BRS through to many other things that have come out of Belfast, Northern Ireland over the years, whether it be DeLorean cars through to, as I said, I found out recently that the Kiss of Life was actually created in Belfast, and many other things. So I think the technology side of things, it's very, very exciting that you see some of the world's top people. As I say, I was just with Jay Carr and the guys over at the NGCR conference weeks ago. They're now coming to Belfast to explore both Belfast hospitality and the wider opportunities.
Yeah, I think you touched on a really good point. It's not just the conference that they'll see as well. I think it's a massive advertisement for Belfast and Northern Ireland as a whole as well. I think, I guess Rawport Rush is getting a lot of highlight because of the Open next year, and I think it's great timing that the event is held. But if you look at the courses round that as well, like the likes of Port Stewart, the Castle Rocks, my home club, even going up to Donegal, the likes of the Ballyliffins and all of Donegal will probably be explored by these people, as well as your Dublin tracks like the well-known Portmarnocks and the Royal Dublins. But Ireland is a golf destination, especially Northern Ireland. there's so much to explore there, and they're going to see well outside of just the conference halls, I'd imagine.
Yeah, no, very, very exciting.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess, obviously you're there to speak at the conference, Gareth. So for people that maybe aren't familiar with yourself or Obbi, we're going to get a bit more into detail into to what you guys do, but maybe just kind of the high level in terms of what you do and how you actually help golf clubs.
Yeah, well, very simple. As I said, my own background is entirely operational. We have family businesses. We employ about 750 people in both hospitality, hotels, and then we have healthcare facilities. We own and operate care homes for the elderly and have a small construction firm as well. So, very, very much a people orientated business that is looking after the public. So, the wide spectrum of that very simply about 5 or 6 years ago, with all the systems and solutions that we have in place, um, we tried to buy a better solution and we couldn't find it anywhere on an international basis. I came up with the probably now slightly more crazy idea of creating this. I say slightly crazy because, as your podcast listeners, that's obviously, as you know, how you and me met back in sort of
Right,
2018, 19, in the very, very early stages
right.
of the technology when we were in the complete infancy. So it's taken us in a completely different angle. And we're now sitting with clients in the States, Ireland, UK, England, New Zealand, and really starting to explore on an international basis.
Yeah, you touched on a good point there. So myself and Gareth, we've known each other right from the very, very start of our journey. So we're going through different, competitions to get the thing running. I believed I bumped into you when you were even in a completely different industry and then pivoted very strongly towards golf. But it seems like, in the world of business and golf business, that time goes so fast. Like I can remember very clearly presenting our final pitch for that event, and then to be here now and as you say, very proudly to be working with some of the best clubs in the world as well that are using your system. It's like, I don't know about you. Do you pinch yourself kind of? It's like, it's so crazy that it's all happening so fast.
Well, I'm just slightly disappointed, as I said, that as you mentioned, we started off in the manufacturing industry from probably 2016. I think we met in late 2017, but
Right.
you didn't tell me how amazing the golf community was, and I found
I
this
know
out
I
by
felt that
accident.
from you. I
I
was
thought,
gatekeeping definitely. I knew you were going to blow the lid off the thing, so I was like, I don't need the
so
competition.
2000, I think it was 2000 and late 2020. But
Yeah.
as I said, the coming from the hospitality background, that as anybody's listening to this who's been in the industry for any more than 5 minutes knows that whilst it is an international market of people from all walks of life, from greenkeeper, hospitality, managers, executives, I have never seen a more connective community and welcome of people. As I said, whilst I play golf, I'm not from the golf business, very much from the operation, and we brought the product in. But the help and support on an international basis is like nothing I've seen in any other industry. As you said, you can be sitting in Belfast today talking to somebody. They're like, "Oh yeah, you need to speak to somebody in London, you know, Dubai, New Zealand, America." I lift the call and make it, and I haven't seen any other industry where that genuine willing of helping people. I went to first trade show I think in 2000, late 2020, early 21. And as I said, you're standing at an event for 3.5 days. And for the entire 3.5 days, from 7 o'clock in the morning to slightly late at night in the bar, everybody just talks about work, as in golf, because they really, really care about it.
I mean, I think this kind of hit us. If you remember when we were having a pint in the Hyatt across the road from the PGA show, and I remember asking you, how did the day go? Given that it was your first PGA show, and I think you were just blown away by the amount of support and the amount of contacts you're able to make. And I've had a similar experience. Like the golf industry, once they know you're trusted and you're doing a great job for a select group of people, they are very, very supportive and very willing to push you. But it also comes with, you have to be willing to, to go to these places and to present yourself as well, and to make the effort first of all. But I mean, I've had a similar experience as well, and hopefully, the same happens in Belfast. If there's companies on the fringes of things that are just want to get inspired by hearing your story and how 6 or 7 years ago this was just infancy, like the same for me, and want to get into it. I think conferences like this are so great because it can inspire someone to say, you know what, I'm facing a problem in my day to day and I want to actually give it a go. Or, I'm a golf pro and I have a software idea and I can, actually give it a go. So it's definitely a cool industry to be in.
Yep. And I think it's very much that, you're talking about whether it be people like us who started, whether it be 16, 17, 18, through to, world class established organizations. Again, I was just on a call last night with somebody in the States and they're talking about the evolution of technology and the speed of that technology. I think that's what makes both the conference very exciting and what we're doing. I was speaking to somebody last night in the radar tracking part of the business, and they've been in for quite a while. But they were saying if you look at the number of stands at the PGA show 5 or 6 years ago in that industry, relatively a small number in the main players. The lady was telling me at this year's show there was 36 companies in some form of radar tracking technology. The vast majority didn't even exist 5 years ago. If you look at ourselves, you, etc., we've created a brand new product category in what we're doing. We've won both Irish and UK most innovative technology firm, and you're speaking to organisations that you know they obviously haven't heard of you and they don't know what you're doing. And I think that's the big bit about technology, that with the speed of wider technology, we all see what AI is doing in recent years. And it's that sort of opportunity, I think, from whether you said like the greenkeeper who's thinking have an idea of themselves or a general manager through to people on the other side of, from a buying and looking outside. Technology in the last few years, particularly that big of COVID, there is so many more things
Mm,
that have evolved out
yeah.
that it's how a conference like this is very good if people can get themselves out of the day-to-day operations for a couple of days and see some of the best world-class opportunities and people there in every walk of life around the club industry.
And I think, conferences like that, even if you're not looking to purchase things, it's a good opportunity to educate yourself on what the trends are and what the macro changes are in the industry. And I know you mentioned there, there's wider technological trends like the craziness of AI. Who knows where the hell that's going? But for someone like you to go on stage and say this is the trends in health and compliance, and if nothing else, you're really educating people on what to look out for and what to be wary on. I think that's massively beneficial. But I think we touched on before we came on the podcast in terms of, some golf clubs might be, a little wary to change, because they've kind of done things the way they've done it for a while. Um, how do you go about? And I'm curious myself, how do you go about, educating people on, there might be a better way to do things, or kind of gradually helping them through that change.
Yeah. I think our own side, and probably there's a couple of bits, the luxury and the comfort that I said, I don't come from either a technology background. I'm an operator through and through for 25 years. That story and the readability helps. And again, I'm a hospitality operator for many years. As I've said, what we do with our technology, we've created a platform that creates an opportunity for making clubs safer, making individuals in the club safer, and giving oversight in seconds. And we speak to people about making people safer, and the first thing we get all the time, oh, well, look, we don't need this. We've never had an accident. And my response every single time is, look, totally understand, but just out of curiosity, whenever you get into your car and drive anywhere, do you put on your seatbelt? They're like, of course I do, every time. And I said, how many times have you crashed your car in the last 10 years? And they're like, none. I said, well, why are you putting on your seatbelt? And they're like, okay, fair point. If we then stick in the same car analogy and look at technology, well, car safety of 10 years ago and 15 years ago and now, I remember when our first child was born, my wife was in the car and I was driving around girlfriend when she was girlfriend, she had a very basic car and sort of student account coming to Dublin. She then got a slightly better car. The day we found out she was pregnant, we walked out and we buy a car. And it wasn't necessarily it was the best car, but it was the best car we could buy from a safety perspective because people's needs change.
Yeah.
I think then, as you said, come back to the wider technology settings, whether it be point of sale, whether it be, even through accountancy software, through to, you only have to look at the amount of clubs these days who are taking up the advancement in driving range technology. Five,
Mm,
6, 7 years ago, it was pretty much unheard of. And apart from, the small numbers,
big time.
one of the talks I was at the PGA show, basically somebody set up says, if you do not have a technology advanced driving range at your club, what are you doing? Because the money, the advancements, the customer needs. So that's where we look at, as I said, it's the evolution of the technology across the entire club with the needs of your staff, with the needs of your members, with the needs of, in our case, outside bodies, such as whether it be the safety executives. Things move on. And sometimes we're all guilty of saying, okay, well, look, we're sitting in the day to day as operators. We keep doing the operational things, and it's not broken, so don't fix it. Whereas you talked about AI, for example, we were very fortunate that we were taken across last year as a very small number of companies for MIT. We were working with MIT for a long period of time, and if you look at the evolution of AI, it's something crazy. Like 90% of programming can now be written by AI coding better than human beings within inside the last 18 months. It's quicker, it's
Mm,
faster, in many cases more economical, and gives better oversight. And that's where this conference is, perfect timing. No matter what technology, either people are looking at, and more so operators, a wide opportunity. As you said, some of the best international speakers
mm,
in the world, giving advice, tips, and just telling the stories of where they've been and where they're going.
mm. Yeah, I think you touched on the speed of development of technology. I heard the other day that it is almost going exponential. So the development will be 2x pretty much every year as far as the AI things going. So it's crazy where it's going to get
Yeah.
to. Obviously, the people are going to be coming to Belfast, and the conference will be part of it, but the crack will also be had elsewhere, I would imagine. So I guess people that are watching this that might be coming to the conference, perhaps we can have a little trade off here in places that we can recommend them in, either Belfast or elsewhere, and where to go for the crack. You go first, and I'll maybe follow up with some more North Coast recommendations.
Well, I look at that the after party each night. My wife has warned me is not back in our house like that. There, that's the only thing
Oh
like that.
no, that was the only reason I was going, Garth.
That's right. Just don't tell her. Look, as I've said, it's somebody with family hotels in Belfast. I'm slightly biased that Belfast itself, for either those that have never been, or more importantly, some people we've met. I was here 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Belfast, without a shout out, is one of the coolest, vibrant, friendliest cities in the world. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, drop it in. Like I said, the welcome you will get in Belfast, as I said, like the crack is quite literally 90. We've so many new areas that new hotels, new restaurants, and whether you want to see the sort of newer Belfast or you're going to say, okay, well, look, let's look at the historical Belfast, the history, the culture. There's everything from, as I said, like some of my favorites, St. George's Market on a
Mm,
Saturday and a Sunday morning. It has got like local fate. It's got all the food, the tradition, the music. We're not even going to get into the bars because, you throw a stone, you'll find a good bar and good side of things. Restaurants again, we've got Michelin star restaurants in Belfast. We have got just some of the best restaurants that are not trying to be Michelin stars like that. I, but ultimately, I think the big thing of people who have never been to Belfast and then the wider Northern Ireland side of things, it is that sort of Northern Ireland Irish welcome across the whole board.
mm.
As you said, the North Coast, whether it be through to anywhere at all, that will be a consistent and a great thing to sort of showcase for people coming across. And as I
Yeah.
whilst the conference is going for a couple of days, I know quite a few people who are coming early and they're saying, okay, well, look, let's get in, explore some of the areas, play a bit of golf, see family, do history and stuff like that. Some people saying afterwards. So, yeah, it really is a big opportunity. And anybody needs a bed in Belfast, give me a shout. We can certainly point them in the right direction with either the hotel or the hotel connections. But I know Abu and the guys are doing a good job. We've sort of been trying to help with that as well through the Belfast Convention Bureau.
There we go. Yeah, and I mean, if you follow the coastline of Ireland, you're going to run into just endless good courses. But I think golf in Ireland is no secret now. I think it's well out of the box. Has been incredible. So I'm sure people will enjoy their stay. Um, so overall, Gareth, it's going to be an exciting time. Obviously, you're a speaker at it. I'm lucky enough to be speaking at it as well. Um, I guess before the conference, we've got a little bit of time now, so it's going to be May 2025, and that obviously leaves a lot of time for Obbi to progress and continue to just make incredible progress in the industry. Is there anything on your roadmap aside from growing things? Any big projects on the horizon without sharing all the secret sauce?
Yeah, no, great. No, it's funny. We have a couple of ones, as I said, that really the last 12 months, the sort of wider international marketplace for us has just exploded. In that 12 months ago, we were sitting, and as you said, like we have many of the top world clubs using our product across the whole UK and Ireland. Um, and we have an awful lot of what I call your day and daily clubs that don't necessarily get the big international name. So we sort of felt that the product was very much suited to that marketplace. And the assumption would be the international marketplace wouldn't need our product because it would all be sorted. And, I was brought across last year with the CMAE to
Mm,
Washington. I was one of
right.
the speakers there. And you went across that assumption, told the guys what we did, keep clubs safer. This is their technology. Spoke to a couple of the guys afterwards. And it's the first time I've ever got laughed out of the room when I was told the reason why we weren't coming to the States because we thought they would have all of this sorted. They're like, Gareth, we definitely don't. And since then, the last sort of 12 months has been a snowball in that, speaking to, again, some of the top clubs, top people, top organizations, and stakeholders. We work with the insurance industry, health and safety executives, have all said, look, this is definitely a very, very advanced technology. What that has led to now going forward, I'm back at Golf Inc. now in a couple of weeks' time. We're starting to do some work with the guys there. Again, they're starting to run interviews and educational. Again, we've just been endorsed there by the National Club Association within the sort of the last month, doing stuff, as I said, with the likes of the National Golf Course Owners Association, and back out to the PGA show, the CMA show, and multiple other side of things. So I think from our side of things, whilst the product is one bit, what we're really, really concentrating on is educating people on the problem around, keeping their club safe or doing it either the way they're doing or not doing it at all. And there is a better way. So that's been very, very exciting from our own
Mm,
side of things.
mm. What are some of the things that clubs are completely unaware of about their health and safety? Like, what are the some of the assumptions that you've seen that you've disproved and people are shocked at when you actually educate them on it?
Yeah. I could probably speak to you for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours and tell you the stories that, because all we do all day, every day, the entire team is talking to organizations about keeping them safer. We hear every one of those bad, scary stories. And that's in many cases not even to somebody that something has went wrong. We've unfortunately heard about the worst of the worst, deaths in clubs, amputation, all those things. But in some cases, just people, as I say, we call it the ostrich effect. They literally sticking their head in the sand. They're doing nothing because they think, well, nothing's happened. And operations always get in the road like that. But again, it's funny. I'm just putting together a paper at the minute. If we take OSHA in the States, they have significantly increased their fines rate of what they're doing to get it wrong. There's civil cases as well, and there's then criminal prosecutions, which people are now more educated the consequences of getting it wrong. But I think certainly it is that nearly ignorance is maybe the right word in some cases for the right people, and the other side of things is operationally busy, and depending on which side of the fence the person is on. Well, if people are ignorant of the fact that they go, well, look, nothing's happened, we don't need to do it, as in many cases, you see people, it's just not an important thing. And other times, particularly when we speak to people, we're saying, okay, you're processing bits and pieces. What are you doing? And say, okay, well, look, we do 1 day training a year, and we bring somebody in and do it, which is great. And many people are not even doing that. But I'm like, well, what about the other 364 days of the year? And they're like, oh, we're slightly operationally busy. So, our solution is very simple. It's how you keep everybody in your club safe 365 days a year using technology in a much more sophisticated way. Um, but I do think it's really great to see that, we come in the industry particularly in the UK and Ireland, we're speaking to all the associated bodies, what we work with, as you said, the UK Golf Federation, CMAE, GCMA, etc. Safety really wasn't a thing whatsoever. Ironically, within the next week, we're just launching the third annual Safety in Golf survey. And if you look at the statistics in that and where people's opinion of safety and how important it was, it's like it's continuously going up and up and up.
Mm.
I think this year one of those bodies did their own survey on needs of members, and safety, which 3 years ago didn't even feature in the top 10, it's now the second most requested requirement in terms of more education and more training. So that's great as well. That sort of people are sort of put in front and center. As I said, that
Yeah.
ironically come back to the technology side of things. You're a very very new technology into the solution that you provide. We're the same. I think one of the solutions that in the survey came out and says, well, look, what is the average amount of technology used, for example, in the safety element of clubs? Last year's figures, it was 8% of clubs are using some form of digital solution. If you look at, the caddie system side of things, go back 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 years side of things, there's a small number of people. You have a brand new technology that's coming out, and it's allowing people to do things much, much better than the way they used to do it, much quicker than the way they used to do it, much better than the way they used to do it. And it's just people being able to find the time to look at these different opportunities. As I said, we own hotels. We've had POS systems and PMS systems for probably 20 something years. I do remember, to be honest with you, whenever we had our hotel and everything for the booking engine was a complete paper based files. But even with that side of things, for POS systems that are 20, 25, 30 years in evolution, we're buying a new one this year for our own hotel in Belfast. And if you look at the advances in that of a very established part of the technology form, there's just opportunity to continue, as you said, with the speed of stuff.
Mm. Yeah, super interesting. I think to have that opportunity to get all these experts in a room in Belfast and really just dump the plethora of knowledge of people who have committed such amounts of time and effort to gather this knowledge and just have it readily accessible is just an amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll wrap things up here, Gareth. If there's anyone before the conference who wants to check out Obbi Golf or even have a chat with yourself just to delve into some of these topics that you mentioned regarding compliance, where's the best place for you to get in contact?
Best place, as I said, from my own email is just gareth@obbi.golf. Website, as you said, www.obbi.golf. Or alternatively, if they want to come to the hotel early, it's Malone Hotel in Belfast. First pints on me, that's easy.
You might
But
have
yeah,
a lot of pints to buy. I think you're going to be getting a few messes after this. But yeah, as always, Gareth, always a pleasure to chat to you. I know this isn't the first conversation we've had this year, and always appreciate your advice. As me, continuing to grow in the industry as well. It's been great to have your mentorship. So thank you again for the time, and look forward to seeing you all at the golf conference next May in Belfast.
Appreciate it. See ya.